Hello, I'm John Gooden, UFC commentator, and welcome to my mini Fight Island series where I celebrate some of the wonderful skills and techniques that we witnessed over at Fight Island. I split this into the grappling and to the striking. Then for part 3, you'll see me talking about my own personal experiences over in Abu Dhabi. Looking forward to this one. Let's go. Okay, first up, let's take a look at Makwan Amirkhani's Anaconda choke against Danny Henry. It was a lovely setup. We're going to start this from when they were standing. And we can see that Makwan uses a flying knee, which he used against Andy Ogle really well. But what he did there was just force Danny Henry back against the fence. Makwan has had hundreds of wrestling matches when he was younger. He's a Greco-Roman wrestler. You can see there, controls the top half of the body really nicely. And I've slowed this down. So let's look through this, how he flips him over. This is really some wonderful stuff. Let's get my drawing tool out a second. And this grip right here, nice gable grip. A lot of people immediately try to go and run their arms into that figure 4, if you like, what you see people with the rear naked choke. So he's controlling the body here, and I love the way that he flipped Danny Henry over. Again, people look for that anaconda choke off of the turtle position and then roll through or fall back. But he's done it in his own unique way, which is just superb. He's got a number of these anaconda chokes as well on his resume. So we can see here he's locking things up, which is just lovely. He's trying to catch the legs of Danny Henry as well. And here we go, he starts to really apply the choke. Now, Danny's trying to do a good job here of creating space across the neck. What that means is like bringing that out. You hear about people, what they look to answer the phone, but Makwan has now caught that arm and he's pushed it across with his leg. I mean, that's incredible stuff. I love what he's done here. Eventually, it just doesn't matter. He's gotten rid of that. He tries to run his legs through, which really then comes across the neck as well as crushing the arteries. And we see there, I think that was Danny about to tap and he's gone out at that point. The squeeze was incredible. Makwan didn't need to run his legs through that whole time. The angle just perfect, and he does a nice job of setting Danny back down, raising his legs, which is off camera if you like. So wonderful stuff there from Amirkhani. I'd like to catch up with him and see how he gets this. I love that anything arm triangle wise, I'm fascinated by. And he has an amazing squeeze. I just like the different angles in which he can get that finish. So wonderful stuff. Right, moving on. Now we can't talk about grappling at UFC Fight Island if we don't start mentioning Khamzat Chimaev very early on in that conversation. Kid's incredible. Like, I'd seen this guy years ago. He was on the top of my scouting list. I knew he was going to get to the UFC. I didn't know it was going to be this soon, but boy, oh boy, has he made an impact. And it seems like Dana White loves this kid. 2 fights, 2 bonuses, 2 finishes, and apparently he's going to be fighting again in August. So we'll see about that. But let's dive into the footage and see what we have then. So he goes up against John Phillips on late notice, and he opens up a takedown via a kick to the body. So that forward momentum, and then like picks up John Phillips, a big old unit, and takes him over to his corner, which is very smart from a young fighter. Now I know I'm going to pause this for a second. Let's pause. Now I heard that the guys at All Stars didn't want Khamzat to stand up and trade with John Phillips, who was a very accomplished boxer. He's a heavy-handed guy. They said, look, this is your debut, late notice, no flashy stuff, just get it done. But even when he did that, to have the presence of mind to carry Phillips into his corner where Reza Madadi and Andreas Michael were so they could get instruction, I thought that was a really nice detail. But what we saw then was a beatdown. It was an absolute clinic in ground and pound, positional control, and moving through certain areas of the body, but maintaining that really strong control is something to behold, which we're going to make the comparison already, Khabib Nurmagomedov. This is what he does very nicely. Let's take a look. So just peppering these shots. And this is with the inside of the glove. There's no protection here, so that hurts even more. And he's trying to soften up for the choke, you can see. And this, I love this. I love these wrist bars, the tie-ups. And then the head position and just punching over the head of over the top of your own head. Really nice work. Just scoring points and keeping you guessing by trying to get the hooks in, strip away any of your posts. Now striking at the same time, dragging you down. It's like your body is now being attacked and manipulated in so many different ways. And then it was an onslaught. We see Phillips tries to roll through, and it's just hard to stay across this just watching it, let alone if this is someone who's actually trying to do damage to you and finish you in a fight in front of millions of people. But this is really nice. Just that the Dagestani handcuffs, as they're known. Now he's trying to break him down with like the 3/4 Nelson. Phillips is too strong for that, but it doesn't matter. Like this is one thing that I find fascinating is Khamzat's trying to do certain things and it didn't matter. Look at the shot here. Look at the entry in the shot. Just turns the corner beautifully. And the way that he distributes his weight, he's moving around, peels it back, and then puts his leg back into that half guard so that he can control from there. Look out! Just look at all these the little minutiae of detail that he tries to use, and he's trying different stuff. This is a guy that's in his debut in the UFC, and as we see, Phillips is trying to get out of something. He just backs out, arm triangle, then turns him around, and here we go. Just going to run his feet through, and then that's going to be all he wrote. Just wonderful squeeze, execution of the submission. Love that stuff. And he gets his first UFC win under his belt, comes away with a bonus at the same time, and it was just a demolition of the man. Then he gets a second fight. Right, let's just talk about this for a second. So now he's en route to breaking the UFC record of the quickest turnaround between fights to get a victory, 10 days. And we know that he won this fight. Rhys McKee steps in, tricky, tall, bony. Like when I say that, I mean that respectfully, because what that means is he can do a lot of damage with his limbs, knees, elbows, that sort of stuff, as well as obviously punching and kicking. But the MO from Khamzat is just get it done. Get it done. You've got a long career. We're going to see how good your striking is. And I can tell you, I've witnessed it. It's very good. He looks like Alexander Gustafsson does, but obviously a smaller weight class. Very light on his feet. Really nice boxing. Didn't need to use it. Just early doors, get it down to the mat and do the damaging work from there. And he looks positively terrifying. So let's roll through. Just look at the way that he drops his level, gets a pickup, and now again walks McKee over into his corner. Now, can I just say, all respect to the corner of Khamzat, but he looks pretty proficient. I think he can make a lot of decisions himself, but he does anyway. And I just think it's so smart, really smart. Let's roll. So a nice body lock, and he's just trying to sweep the legs away. Good balance here by Rhys, but it's just not enough. And that head position, just jamming it under the jaw. And he's already looking to skip round. You see what he did to John Phillips, where he wedged his leg between the two. Now he's looking to step over and just be dominant. He's looking for good positions. Let's stop that here as well, because he does. Actually, we'll roll it through. There's another opportunity where he does this. This, what's happened to the screen? This wrist bar that we see is so nice. Such a nice little detail where he weaves his arm through, like lacing it through, and he will take that grip and he will strip that grip away, which is actually quite horrible to the shoulder joint, and that allow him to either drive forward and flatten McKee out, work for a submission, but it's taking away lines of defense, and it's just lovely the way that he does it. Let's go back to the footage. So as he's pulling on that wrist, Rhys tries to sit through. Nice work, but look at the pressure. He's going to lift that up. Nice work by McKee to limp arm out, but he's still got a good handle on that. And I just love the way that he's so dominant, looking to distribute his weights and create pressure. And all of these little things like feints, like, oh, I'm just going to try and threaten your neck to make you move. Here we can see that he could go for an arm triangle here, but he doesn't. Look, I'm just going to threaten stuff, flatten you out. Rhys McKee tries to roll through and he just floats over the top of that. Sitting here now, just pressure, pressure, pressure. Danger, danger on that far side. He's completely taken McKee's left arm out of the equation again with that handcuff, that wrist bar. And now he's just in a horrible position and back mount. Just riding him and doing damage. These are pretty nasty looking sledgehammers as well. So much so the referee has to take a different look. And now McKee decides he's going to give up the mount position, which means that he's susceptible to the choke. Just total domination here, stripping away at all of the posts so that he's got ample opportunity to start driving his fists into the face. Oh, let's just watch this lovely stuff. McKee's trying his best to find ways to get back to his feet or post out, but wherever he turns, he's faced with a potential choking arm or being punched. Look at that, switches to the back. Now McKee's going to try and flatten out, which he does, which again leaves the mount open. Little bit of posture. Driving the elbow through. Nasty stuff. That's going to start doing some damage and some cuts. Just horrible. He's a horrible human being when it comes to doing this. Look at this ground and pound assault. Oh, just horrible. Stopped it there. We don't need to see any more. It was devastating work by Khamzat Chimaev. We know that he's a man to be reckoned with already in a welterweight division. Who's going to take that fight? I think the UFC are going to have to do something very different with this kid because he's come in. No one knows enough about him. What they've seen is pretty devastating. He's on the upward trajectory. Who is going to take a fight against him? I don't know. But I'm excited to see who does. But I think the UFC are going to have to do something different when dealing with someone like him. They can't put him in against the top guys just yet. Or can they? I don't know. We shall see. Amanda Ribas versus Paige Van Zant. Now going into this one, Ribas, a great judo practitioner, great jiu-jitsu player as well. But I think she wanted the rub of going off against Paige Van Zant. All of the followers that she had. It was a piece of marketing that was just very, very obvious and easy to do, right? They're both big followings in their respective countries, but some high-level mixed martial arts as well. Let's take a look. Now, I spoke to Paige before and I said, you're going to look to avoid that hip to hip? And she said, yes, we've been working on it, didn't matter. Hip toss, straight down into Kesagatami, scarf hold control. But what was quite nice here and different was how we saw Paige offered this control here. It was across the arm. So it was stopping Ribas from really doing a great deal by like connecting her two arms because she was trapping Ribas's arm against her body. So I think that was a pretty good stalling technique, but we know it didn't really come to much at the end of the fight. Let's clear those drawings and let's get back to the action and just see how this one played out. So from here, Ribas has now only really got one arm to work and she's trying to maintain that position. She's quite high up on Kesagatami and that's the reason why you see Paige trying to come out the back door by walking her legs over. A lot of people you'll see take that pressure across the diaphragm rather than across like the neck. But Ribas has got such good base and she's obviously so very strong, she's able to maintain control. Paige is doing a lot of the right things here. but the fence is going against her. She can't roll Hebas across her body. And we see that she's got a little trickle of blood coming down from her nose, Hebas, so she didn't come away completely unscathed. And you can see Hebas assessing her own body to see, like, what have we got here? How dangerous is that? And Paige is doing a good job. She nearly comes out, but this is absolutely sensational. The way that she takes the arm, the trap that she had on the arm the whole time. Just look at this. She's trying to roll her through. Paige is now in a horrible position. The arm's not across her body. It's still being trapped like a shoulder lock. She's trying to push the arm, not there. Goes belly down, and then look, she tries to, there's the tap. It's so goddamn tight. Oh, look in slow motion. We're trying to see, there's the leg across the face. Now what you would typically like to see, let me see if I can bring this down and annotate this for you. We like to see these two knees closer together around the arm, wherever that might be. But the arm is in a weird position because it's not coming across the body here. It's not in this position where you would pinch it like you would normally see in an armbar situation. It's round the back here. It's round the back of the shoulder. So it's like a shoulder lock at the moment. And we see that she's going to try and flatten her out. And then she's going to bring these knees close together, stretch out her body, but it just doesn't matter. The pressure that Hebas has, and that is high-level grappling, where you're able to just keep control on all of these anchor points and manipulate the body at the same time. It's wonderful stuff, high level. Look, Paige can't get her base here. She's trying to tripod through it and then have a look at trying to do something with her arm. But the pinch on that's so good, she eventually just falls through. Look at the pressure on the face of Paige. And then the grip is broken. That's what she was trying to do there. As Paige is trying to keep her arm safe by however she was doing it, whatever grip she was using, probably not that would be bad. Hebas is trying to stretch her out, and the hamstring across the face was doing it. And we can see here in the footage, Paige is trying to push that leg across so that she can start to get inside, take some pressure off, and move her body round and start getting her limbs back. But she just can't. Hebas has such good control. She then goes belly down. She notices that separation. She goes belly down, and now she has got the arm, as we can see here. And as we see Paige trying to flip herself over, it's just in a horrible position, and she gets the tap. That is a really lovely way to get the joint lock, and you don't see it many times. The way that she had it trapped, beautiful stuff. Amanda Hebas, who was a delight to be around. She's such a ball of positive energy, and she stuck around after the fight for a few days as well, and the media just couldn't get enough of her. They really wanted to speak to her, so she is a star in the making for sure. Obviously a high-level mixed martial artist. Right, what do we got next? Let's take a look at Montel Jackson. Now, Montel didn't win this fight, but I saw things that he was doing that I hadn't seen a lot of before. And I don't think that Brett Johns had either. Brett Johns is a judoka. Judoka is typically a very strong grip strength. He's been doing it since he was a kid. So he's naturally going to be a strong lad. But because of the physicalities of Montel and his own strength, his grip strength, and the size of his hands, we saw things that we don't normally see, which is why I pulled it up, because I found it fascinating. Not everyone can do what Montel was doing in this fight, but for those of you that have really long arms and maybe big hands and strong grip strength, we can train our grip strength, of course. Take a look at how this man was using it, because it's fantastic. So Johns is trying to get in on the hips, and already we can see this posting that Montel has. the one-on-one. Sometimes we speak a lot about two-on-one, and we isolate an arm, and that stops your opponent from getting the grips together so that they can, once those grips are around the body, it makes it a lot easier to start lifting, pulling, pushing, etc. If you've got one arm out of the game, and this is what Montel did brilliantly, it still stops a lot of what people are thinking. Now, typically, when someone's got one-on-one control, you'd think it was 50-50. You do things like swimming background. Now I've got that control over the arm. We can push it away and you can start pummeling in, driving, striking. But Montel Jackson's grip is so strong and his arms are so long. He was putting Brett John's arms completely out of reach in a space where, like, if you train your strength, you don't have a lot of strength here. You're much stronger when you can use your body. Like when things are stretched out, you're limited with the amount of power you can use. And it was just wonderful. Let's go back to the footage and see some of the things that Montel was doing. So he's just stretching that out the whole time. And Brett does get it back, but it was stalling. So he gets taken down. Now let's see how Montel deals with this. This was interesting. It's across the body. Now he's sort of giving up his back, but because he's got such confidence in his own grip, he's like, this kid's not going to get his arm around my neck, because that was like the choking arm. He's not going to get it around my neck and I'm going to be safe. Just respect the grip strength here. Because Brett Johns is trying to, there's not a lot he can do. He's trying to shake it off. He can't do anything with it. This fascinated me at the time, because I know that Brett is a strong dude. And you can see, look, he's trying to do it over his head. He's trying to come out to the side. But Montel does a good job of just stalling and slowing the flow down of Johns. Now he frames off. He's obviously got a big frame that you see there. Really good stuff. Again, the arm is trying to go under the neck, but you haven't got the choke until you can link the arms. So look at what Montel does here. Can I move this out of the way so that you can see? Look at this. Look how he's stretching it out. And that's what I'm talking about with the strength. You haven't got the strength when it's fully out here. You have to sort of swim through. And his left arm would go under the neck, but you need that right arm to start finishing things, or switch it around and go right to left. And I just love the way that Montel did a good job here. And you can see he's trying to turn in, even with that body triangle. He does a nice job. He's stripping off the grip. This is legal, by the way. He's on the hands, not the glove. He's going to try and force that over the head. Again, really nice. And when you've got a grip like Montel Jackson has, it's almost like Johns isn't going to get his hands back. And he's sort of started to accept that a little later on in the fight. But I just thought that Montel Jackson has done a wonderful job of learning about his physicalities and where his strengths lie. And all right, he got put in some bad positions. Triangle was locked up here, but he did a good job. And the arms across. You know, Brett Johns doing all the right things, but then good posture there by Jackson. Just because of his physical size is a problem for these guys. Again, that across the body. He didn't even take the near side arm. He went across the body and it allowed him to do that. Just wonderful. Really, really lovely stuff. I had to celebrate that. I know he didn't get the win, but I think there's a lot that he can build on there. I particularly like some of the things that I would never do, and that's going across the body to give my back, just to stop the arms coming across. Yeah, just lovely. More high-level stuff with Evloev and Grundy. We all knew this was going to be a high-level matchup. Two wrestlers, a freestyle wrestler and a Greco-Roman wrestler, but actually it proved to be so much more. Let's have a look at this, shall we? Now, Mike Grundy, arm triangle chokes for days. That's what he does. And he was trying to set that up the whole way through this. Some of the things that I saw Evloev do, I've never really seen before in a way. Just look at the defense here from Turtle. You've got a man in a tripod position up against you, a big strong dude. Look at what he does here. Look at that. He suplexes him from a squat position. Look, that's insane. How did he do that? Like the strength. My neck would break. I just loved it. I loved the way that he was in that tripod position, he was driving down on his own Grundy was in a tripod position, driving down his weight across the back, and he got to a position where he found strength and base, and then somehow he had a limb and technique, beautiful technique. He flipped him over with the suplex. I mean, unreal. But it didn't stop Grundy from, he wasn't discouraged, and he knew what he wanted to get. He knew he wanted to get that over under, the seat belt, the setups for the triangles, whichever way, Anaconda, Bravo, he can do it all. But Evloev was just so smart to it. Again, just clamping down straight away. Look at the setup. Straight away. And we can see that he wanted to go and reach for the legs, but Evloev moved out the way so he wasn't completely compressed there. Just, there's not a lot wrong with what Grundy's doing, but just celebrate some of the defensive moves. Right, now, let's stop this here. This, we see this happening a lot when people have, they're not in this position. You grab your own leg and you pull down the ring that you create, the kind of loops of 8, if you like, that you create by grabbing underneath your own arm, and then you push down with your own hamstring, and that sort of creates some space so that people can't choke you. We see people using the answering the telephone that we heard earlier on, but the way that Evloev was crushed like this, cranking on his neck, choking arm, compression against the arteries, and he's using a number of different escapes, and he was bailing on some and going into the next line of defense. So now he's like, right, that's not working. I need to push his hip away, but he's got my foot. I need to get some space so that I can stop this choke. He's trying to push off on the hip. Then he sort of bails out and he spins through. He must have felt a little bit of space there, but that was unbelievable. Like 3 different methods of defense, and he gets back to his feet and he starts moving away. There's a lot more to be looked at in the striking aspects of this matchup. But that was just wonderful, the way that he'd looked at the different ways that he could alleviate the pressure, and it allowed him to think. He was thinking, not panicking against someone who is known for those setups. And then since then, we saw he was actually drilling some of these defenses with Arman Sarukian, who I will be mentioning in this series. He had a wonderful display, and I love that, how that translates. A bit like how we saw Jorge Masvidal training that flying knee. Brilliant stuff. And that's the end of those guys. Evloev is fantastic. He broke Grundy's jaw. Good luck to Mike Grundy, who this week, maybe today when I'm filming this, I think he goes into surgery for that. So we wish him all the best. 2 really talented guys. There's plenty more damage for Grundy to do in that featherweight division. Evloev has talked about going down to bantamweight. I think he looks good enough right there. Who else have we got? We've had a look at him, We've got to talk about one of the greatest grapplers in mixed martial arts, Fabricio Verdum. Alexander Gustafsson coming into this one as a heavyweight. I love Gustafsson. I think he's one of the technically gifted guys that was at 205. I honestly thought he could be the guy to beat John Jones if everything came good for him on the night. But he moves up a weight class and he looked really happy, and it was great to see. Let's look at the footage. Let's see how Verdum got it done. Big fight for Verdum, last on his contract. He was very emotional all week. So in on a single. Now we know that Gustafsson's got good balance. Okay, he gets tripped down, but then he distributes his weight nicely. He's trying to make Verdum pay for that. He drags him across his body, and he does not at any point let go of that leg. Gustafsson tries to run out and just a trip, and that is what you don't want. You do not want you do not want Verdum on your back. And now he goes to the arm. This is rare, and Dan said this in commentary. The route one nowadays for me in mixed martial arts is like single or double leg, take it down, move to the back, get the rear naked choke him out. You take the least amount of damage and you get the opponent out of there. A lot of people are learning how to defend the rear naked choke. A lot of people are learning how to defend submissions generally, which is why we don't see as many these days, but Fight Island was a little bit different. So Verdum immediately goes to the armbar. Now they had met before, and Verdum got a tap to the armbar off of Gustafsson. There was a bit of needle there. Such was the confidence of Verdum. Maybe he thought, I'm going to get you with that armbar again because I don't like what you've been saying this week. The way that he gets this armbar is superb. Let's roll the clip. Now, to get a good armbar, you typically need your knees close together to pinch the arm. Otherwise, there's a lot of space. You also separate the head from the arm, which he's doing a really nice job of here. Of course, like, who am I to talk about Verdum's technique? But he just doesn't panic in all of this. And lesser grapplers would be desperately trying to get all of the components together, like tight knees and working at getting that grip stripped so that you can extend that arm out. But he waits for Gustafsson. He waits patiently for Gus to do something. He's moving his legs in slowly. He's just baiting him, and there you go. Gustafsson tries to move. Now the knees come tight together, crosses the feet, and look at this. This was a really nice job. Gus had hidden his hand. He'd hidden his hand so that he didn't have a fulcrum point to break that grip off. But unfortunately, Gus puts it back in. Verdum's just waiting for him to change the grip around. You can hide the grip here in different ways so that someone who's just trying to hunt for that armbar doesn't see some leverage. It just didn't matter. It was only, look, it wasn't there. He goes on the inside. He baited the inside. He's like, right, now you're going to go on the outside. Thank you very much. I've now got more real estate on your arm. I'm going to go both, and there it is, done. It's just beautiful. He made him change it. So then he had his full arm across, more bite on that, hip through, taking home the arm. Jobs are Gooden, as they say. Wonderful grappling. There's so much that we learn from here. I'm going to get together with my coach, Dave Lee, down at Team Crossface and do a breakdown on a bunch of these because I want to learn some of these specifics. I want to feel it. Certainly like the Makwan, Amir Khani setup, some of the ways in which Evloev was defending as well. I really want to learn how these guys and girls were doing it. Lovely stuff. Wonderful, wonderful grappling. Let's move into the next episode for striking. Thanks for watching.